Imagine you're a little boy, you admire your father, you're proud of him. And you're not the only one. At your school, others admire him too. They ask you about him. They see him as a hero, because he's not just anyone. He's a Formula One driver, one of the 20 most famous men in motorsport worldwide. But you know the truth, you know that. Behind the scenes, he's someone completely different. If you fail, he doesn't comfort you, he blames you. If you don't do what he expects, he doesn't talk to you, he punishes you, he yells at you, he pressures you, he hits you. He also forces you to run while freezing in the rain, with a fever, with fear. And when you don't meet his expectations, he leaves you stranded in the middle of a gas station, alone, without explanation, even though you're still a child. All for a single goal, for you to achieve what he never could, to fulfill his frustrated dream, to become a Formula One champion through you. And you do it. Not just once, but several times. You become the best driver of your generation. But even though you achieve everything you set out to do, even legendary status, there's something that never goes away. The cruelties your father inflicted on you, the ones that scarred you forever. And even if you downplay it, even if you say it makes you laugh now, even if you try to justify it by saying it was for your own good, those traumas are still there. Today we're going to go over the 10 toughest moments that Max Verstappen experienced at the hands of his father, Jos. But not only that, you'll hear them told by him himself. This is the story of the most traumatic childhood a driver has ever had in the history of Formula One. And stay until the end, because as you go on, each memory will be more disturbing than the last. It all starts with a kart race. Max is on the track and his father at the edge of the circuit is yelling at him like a lunatic to go faster. That's how both of them remember it.
Or I would have my dad like next to the Coca track telling me, go, go, play this. He would almost jump onto the track to try and make me go faster. I never forget the images of...
I even did that in Formula 3. He saw me like a lunatic. I was sending him,
Everyone was holding the pit board and this is my dad.
I was leaning over the wall, urging him to hurry.
It may seem like a minor moment, but it already shows us the kind of pressure they put on him from the very beginning. Shouting, impatience, brutal demands. Also, if you pay attention, he not only interrupts his son while he's talking, but Max's gaze drifts off, as if he's remembering those moments. And pay attention to that interruption, because it will be important for the rest of the video. Like I said, this is just the beginning. David Coulthard asked Max a simple question. Did it help you that your father was a driver? But the answer wasn't what he expected.
And yeah, I mean, of course, it helps if you have a dad, like knowing a lot about it. But sometimes my dad would tell me to shut up because I was just asking him too many questions about it. But I guess that's a good thing.
This moment marks the beginning of a pattern that will repeat throughout the whole video. Jos's constant impatience. When Max had doubts, when he wanted to talk, when he was simply trying to connect with his father, he was told to be quiet. And the most striking thing is that Max doesn't criticize him. On the contrary, he validates him. He says it was a good thing, that it helped him. As if those moments of forced silence hadn't affected him. And if you notice, we've seen this before. In the previous job, when Max was telling the story, Jos interrupted him without thinking. But this wasn't an isolated incident. It was so common that Max had it ingrained. And that's why we'll see in the next job how I couldn't help but say what I was thinking. In a father-son interview, something unexpected happened. A comment that just slipped out of Max. An almost automatic reaction, right?
I don't think I need to teach him anything anymore. I did that before this.
He often told me to shut up because as a kid I asked too many questions in the van after grocery trips.
Can you please stop talking now? He was always asking questions.
The shocking thing about this moment is not just what Max says, but when he says it. Right at the moment when Jos interrupts him, he blurts out, please, stop talking. As if he were repeating once again what he had told him so many times off camera. It was no longer a memory, it was happening right there. And it's one thing to constantly tell him to be quiet, but it's a very different thing to put his physical safety at risk. And that's what's coming next. In the middle of an interview, Max started telling stories from his early years in motorsport. That's how another story with Jos came up.
I got invited for an F3 test and it was a lot tougher. So after a few runs, I could not keep my head up. And then my dad, well, I needed padding on the sides in Valencia. And also because it was anti-clockwise, so it made it even worse. Because normally you're used to clockwise tracks and your neck is used to that. And then my dad called it the
Pussy pad.
Pussy pad. Since that day, I told him because I couldn't keep my head up, but I had to use it. Since that day, I refused to use it.
To use the pussy pad.
Exactly. I said, because was it in 2020, like we arrived at Mugello, no one knew how heavy it would be, and some drivers already had padding. The team asked if I wanted padding too. I said, even if my head falls off, I am not using it ever again.
All because of pride? Joss didn't want his son to use protection like the others. According to him, that was for the weak. And even though we could say that this ended up helping Max strengthen his neck, there are much more efficient ways to do it. The funniest thing is that Max tells it while laughing as if it were a funny story, but it wasn't like that. David Coulthard asked Max how his parents advised him to become a driver. The answer was completely different from what he expected.
Your father and your mother, as racers, have said to you, Max, look, you will be a champion. And when you are a champion, people are going to praise you and criticize you in equal measures.
My dad never said I was going to be a champion. He was always the opposite. He was telling me I was going to be a truck driver or like a bus driver.
Really?
Yeah, because he was always, in a good way, I think, putting the, not like pressure, but making me realize that what I was doing at the time was not enough.
There are many ways to motivate a child, but this is definitely not one of the most common ones. And even less so coming from a family with so much history in motorsports. Although, considering everything we've been seeing, it shouldn't surprise us. Because, as will become clear in the next segment, Max's childhood was far from that of a normal child. But before that, if you're enjoying this video, subscribe. They asked Max what it was like growing up with his father, and his answer made it clear.
Ben je opgevoed?
Hard.
Hard?
Maar ja, natuurlijk met mijn vader. Ja, absoluut.
Was die hard?
Qua racegebied.
Ja, ja.
Zeg maar, strikt, ja.
Maar strikt
Nou,
als in...
gewoon, ik moest er wel serieus mee bezig zijn. Anders dan wou hij ermee stoppen. En ik moest wel alles ervoor over hebben, zeg maar. Terwijl de andere kinderen voor leuk weer spelen, weet je wel.
Ja, maar ik zeggen, wat heb jij ervoor gelaten allemaal? Want je moet,
Nou
je moet ook offers brengen, toch? Misschien voel je dat helemaal niet zo. Omdat,
Absoluut, kijk,
omdat je doet wat je het leukste vindt, maar...
Ik vond het ook soms leuk om op een zaterdag te gaan voetballen of zo. Snap je?
Maar dat wilde je vader niet hebben.
Nee.
Nee?
Nee, maar uiteindelijk ben ik wel heel blij dat hij natuurlijk ook wel zo streng voor mij was.
Since Max was very young, Joss was strict with him. If he wanted to become a world champion, he had to give up everything else. No games, no childhood. From the moment I was old enough to walk, I was already training to get to Formula One. And for Jost, that was the price of success. In an interview, Joss casually talked about one of the ways he punished Max when he didn't perform as expected. Me?
I'd pick him up. We drove, I think it was about 1,800 kilometers back home. I didn't say a word to him, and I think the whole week after I didn't speak to him.
Earlier we saw how he told him to be quiet, but this time the silence was mutual. For a whole week, his own father didn't speak to him, and even though it might seem like a minor punishment, it was the last one that didn't involve physical harm. Because what comes next is much harsher. In an interview, Max recalled an incident where his father hit him while he was karting.
The funniest one was, I think, in that final year at PFI, do you remember?
Yeah,
In the World Championship.
the first session.
Yeah, I was driving like a potato. I swear it was really bad.
I know, I said, fuck, what is he doing? So I called him in. I was always on the tracks, so he came back.
You know there's trouble.
So he would stand up and I really smashed him on his helmet, bang. And he was like...
All the mechanics around there were like, what happened there?
And then I said, what are you doing? He said, we are here, it's the championship, and I think we can win it.
If you don't drive normal, we'll go home and pack up everything.
The most disturbing thing is how he presents it. As if it were a funny anecdote. They both tell it while laughing, as if it were nothing. And once again, Max ends up justifying his father's attitude, but from here on, everything gets worse. In another interview, Max and his father recall how they forced him to run in extreme conditions. Cold, rain, freezing temperatures, nothing was an excuse to stop.
He was probably 8 or 9 or something, and after Wednesdays after school, because school was finished at 12, we went to the Coca track, and it was, in the winter time, was freezing. So I let the van run so he could warm up, and then we did 10 laps. Ah, God. I said, okay, go warm up. And then 3 minutes later, fuck, where is he now? I said, come on, drive. Ah, but I'm still cold. I don't care, drive. And he couldn't move his fingers, and I didn't care. I wanted to test things because I was building engines and changing chassis and things like that, and I wanted to have the result. Because I was, I wanted to move forward, but then he was like, I'm cold, and things like that. And then when the fingers warm up, then again, and that's very painful, and I said, shut up, you won't.
Trying to make me tough, I think.
In this clip, Joss's obsession with results becomes even clearer. He repeats phrases like, I wanted to work on the engine, or I wanted him to win. Everything revolved around his own desire for success. Was it for Max's sake or to fulfill his own frustrated dream through him? Maybe we'll never know, but the truth is that to achieve it, he put him through a hell of ice. If you've made it this far, you're probably enjoying this video, so subscribe. Thanks for watching this video. In an interview, Max shared the most brutal story from his childhood. A karting race, an angry father, and a child abandoned at a gas station.
My dad was really, really upset and disappointed in me, of course. So he, of course, broke down the tent and threw everything in the van. I had to pick up the go-kart on the track with a friend after the race because my dad said I had to do it myself. And so we managed to do all of that, of course, my dad being very angry. So we then sat in the van on our way back home. But I wanted to talk to my dad about what happened, about my opinion about the incident. But my dad didn't want to talk to me, so I kept trying. And Umpani said, get out, like here at the fuel. He stopped at the fuel station. He was like, yeah, get out. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Max grew up with a childhood marked by demands, silence, physical punishment, and also abandonment. Finally, he achieved what very few have managed: multiple world titles and a place among the best in history. But does that justify everything he went through? On one hand, you have Max, shaped by force and molded by pressure. On the other hand, a driver who had everything easy: support, resources, comfort. And even so, he ended up being one of the most disappointing and hated in the sport. I'm talking about Lance Stroll. And if you want to know why so many people hate him, click on this video.